The wall was never built to keep people out. It was built to keep people in. You have seen the pictures. Everyone has. A structure so large it bends with the curve of the earth. Stone on top of stone. Watchtower after watchtower. Stretching across mountains, across deserts, across the spine of an entire civilization. They told you it was protection. A shield against invaders from the north. The Mongols. The nomads. The dangerous outside world pressing against the edge of something fragile and worth defending. That is the story. That is the version that gets taught. The one printed in textbooks. The one that makes the wall feel heroic. Necessary. A monument to human survival. You accepted it. Most people do. But then you look closer, and something feels slightly off. The watchtowers on the Great Wall face inward just as often as they face outward. Not always, not obviously, but enough to notice, if you are the kind of person who notices things. The gates were controlled not just to stop people from entering. They were designed to monitor who was leaving. Merchants, farmers, soldiers who had finished their service, common people who simply wanted to move. Every exit was a checkpoint. Every checkpoint was a question. And the question was never really about safety. It was about control. Now here is where it gets strange. This pattern does not belong to one wall. It does not belong to one empire. It does not belong to one era of history. Every major civilization that built walls eventually used them in the same way. The Roman frontier walls, the barriers of medieval cities, the gated systems of modern states. They all begin with the same explanation: protection, defense, safety from the outside, and they all quietly become something else. They become systems of sorting, of permission, of deciding who belongs and who does not, of making movement a privilege instead of a right. The wall does not just block the enemy, the wall defines who the enemy is. And once you understand that, you start seeing walls everywhere, not always made of stone. Think about the structures in your own life, the systems that were explained to you as protection, the rules that exist, they said, for your benefit, the boundaries placed around your movement, your information, your choices, all of them introduced with the same quiet reassurance. This is for your safety. This is to keep the dangerous things out. But safety is a feeling, and feelings can be manufactured. An empire does not need to threaten you openly. It only needs to make you grateful for the walls it built around you. The most sophisticated form of control does not feel like control at all. It feels like shelter. The workers who built the Great Wall did not choose to be there. Hundreds of thousands of them. Conscripted. Forced. Many of them died inside the wall itself, buried in its foundation. There is an old belief that the bones of the workers became part of the structure, that the wall is not just stone, that it is made of the people who had no choice but to build it. Whether that is literally true matters less than what it means, because every large system is built this way, not with willing hands, with hands that had no other option, with labor extracted from people who were told their sacrifice was noble, necessary, for the greater good. And generations later, their descendants stand at the base of what was built and call it magnificent. They take photographs, they feel pride, they do not ask who is buried underneath. At some point, you start to notice that the most celebrated monuments in human history were built by people who had no power. And the people who had all the power are the ones history remembers by name. The wall stands. The workers do not. Here is the part that should unsettle you. The Great Wall failed. As a military defense, it failed repeatedly. Invaders breached it, went around it, were let through by guards who were bribed or simply gave up. The Mongols, the very people the wall was supposedly built to stop, eventually ruled China from the inside, not because the wall was too short, not because it was too thin, because walls do not stop determined people. They never did. So if the wall failed at its stated purpose, and everyone in power eventually knew this, then why did they keep building it? Why did dynasty after dynasty pour resources, lives, and centuries into something that did not work? Because the wall was never really about the Mongols. It was about the idea of the Mongols, the fear, the invisible threat beyond the edge of the known world, a threat that justified everything happening on this side of the wall. Fear does not need to be real to be useful. It only needs to be maintained. Now turn around. Look at the walls in your own world, not the ones made of stone, the ones made of narratives, the threats you were handed before you were old enough to question them, the fears that were placed in you so carefully you thought they were your own. Ask yourself when you last made a decision that was not shaped by something you were afraid of. Ask yourself who benefits from that fear staying alive. Ask yourself whether the thing you are most afraid of has ever actually touched you, or whether you have only ever seen it described, pointed to, held up as the reason everything must stay exactly as it is. The wall does not need guards if the people inside believe the outside is too dangerous to approach. That is the architecture of perfect control. You stop needing to be contained. You contain yourself. The Great Wall is still there. Millions of people visit it every year. They stand on top of it. They look out at the horizon. They feel something. Awe, maybe. Or something older than awe. They are standing on the bones of people who had no choice. They are standing inside a system that was built to manage them. And they call it one of the greatest achievements in human history. Maybe it is. Or maybe the greatest achievement was convincing everyone standing on it that they are the ones looking out, and not the ones being watched.